Hello, beautiful divine souls, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. I truly appreciate you, and I truly do hold so much love in my heart for you. And today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about self-love and three main reasons why so many of us really struggle to be authentic in the way we hold a space of love for ourselves. So before I jump into that, I just want to first start by asking, what's love? What's your definition of love? What's love for you? And I'm going to do another video on this and go more deeply into it. But, at its very core, love is a state. It's not necessarily an action or something that we need to do something about. Love is a state, and that state is a state of patience, state of compassion. It's a state of peace. It's a state of acceptance, just to name a few of the qualities. And so when we consider love in this dynamic, the expectation that we may have for ourselves and for other people might shift a little bit. So, when it comes back, and so that's love generally, but when it comes back to self-love, it's really simply about how we experience ourselves. We have things, we might go into, self-love practices. We can run a bubble bath, or we can, go have a massage, something like that, something that's self-care. But self-love is a deeper concept than self-care, because when we're going about self-care, we might still feel guilty about, taking time out for ourselves. There are a number of different kind of, triggers that can occur when we do let ourselves drop into a state of being cared for and being loved, and that's another matter as well, as like our capacity to receive love, not just from outside of us, but from ourselves. So also I want to mention that this is like the journey of self-love is such a deeply fulfilling and soulful journey that, I'm not going to be able to capture it in this 10-minute video, but I am going to, if you stay to the end, we're going to do a quick drop in, and, I'll guide you through the energy of maybe tuning into that sense of self-love as a state. But it's also a space where we can raise awareness and just start to maybe approach ourselves a little bit differently. Because can you just imagine if the love that you express for other people and the way that you have patience and compassion and understanding for other people, imagine if you turned that on yourself and you gave yourself the same grace. And if we look at that, then, often, from my experience and my journey, the very first thing that happens when we consider that is that our nervous system responds, because our nervous, it's such an unfamiliar thing of not putting ourselves first, but making ourselves the priority. So we can still have love for other people while loving ourselves. And this is where boundaries come in. And that's also another tangent I won't go off on today. So I'm just going to invite you to pause, take a deep breath, and drop out of your head and into your body and into your heart. Because another reason that we struggle with the idea of, not the idea, we struggle with the embodiment of love as a state is because we are in our heads. We live in our heads, we reason, we rationalize. We might say all the affirmations, I'm worthy, I'm lovable, I am love. But they remain up here. And it's when we drop into our body and we have the felt sense of those affirmations or those words or the thoughts, that we can tap into the truth of it. So the truth is held, like, our lived truth is held in our body and in our nervous system. So sitting here and listening and receiving this transmission from heart, and, allowing yourself to hold a space of grace and compassion for yourself. The first the first point I want to make about why we, the things that we struggle with from self-love, in self-love, is what I'm going to broadly call worthiness. And, this can take many colors and many forms and many shapes. But worthiness is something we generally learn at a pretty young age. And it's another thing where we can have a mental image that, yes, I am worthy and I know I'm worthy, but our nervous system and, our subconscious imprints, the imprints that kind of generate our energy into the world, our projection into the world, might be triggered by contradicting what our mind is telling us. And so we learn when we're very young, perhaps, and it doesn't need to be big trauma experience, but we are imprinted that it's nice to put other people first. So I'm not worthy. Our parents might have told us, you can't have everything you want. And so we think that we can't have everything we want. And often that will be self-love, loving compassion and kindness. So whatever pathway to this state or whatever nuance applies to this state, so many of us have a sense of unworthiness where we're not allowed to show ourselves the same loving kindness that we would show to somebody else. And in fact, we often, quite honestly, block ourselves from receiving that true depth, the true state of a lived embodiment of love. Because we can receive at the mental level, we can receive and we can be in relationship at the level of, a love that fits the expectations and images of what society tells us it is, how it should be. We tick all the boxes, all of that sort of thing. But this deep level of acceptance and compassion and love, it's something that our nervous system will often tell us we're unworthy of. So that's the first thing. And so I invite you to notice your body's response when you consider those values of peace, acceptance, patience, and compassion, when you turn those values inwards, or when you contemplate being the recipient of that kind of grace. And it's in exploring and cultivating that connection that we can move through this block or grow our awareness around it. The second thing that stops us from dropping into self-love is this negativity bias. And so humans have a negativity bias. It's a survival thing, but it's not, we don't need it. It's gone way out of control and we don't realize we're doing it. But our brain is taught to look for the faults, like literally, not just taught, but it's instinctively wired to look for the problems and look for the faults. And unfortunately, the problems are no longer a saber-toothed tiger, but the problems are, I'm too fat to buy that dress, or, I'm not pretty enough to attract a person that, whatever the negative self-talk may be, we're looking for our faults. And because we're always looking for our own faults, we're always looking at that we should be different, we should be better, and that, when I'm better, I'll be worthy of being loved, or when I'm better, I'll deserve to, to give myself the grace of having a rest. So many of us drive ourselves so hard that we never allow ourselves to be at peace and to be at rest. And I think that's such a deep indication of being in that state of love, is to allow yourself the grace of peace. I know so many people, beautiful people, who just drive themselves so hard. And this connects in with that worthiness thing as well. So the first 2 points, well, all the points, everything's connected. So we're wired to find the fault and the problem. And again, in the nervous system, it's often not safe. We often don't feel safe to feel good. if I find peace, or if I feel good with where I'm at and accept where I'm at, maybe it'll get taken away. And so we stay on hypervigilance and hyper alert. So I invite, if any of this is resonating, or if you're noticing these patterns in yourself, I'd love for you to share in the comments below. Because as I mentioned, like the journey of self, this work, the work of self-love and cultivating, restoring our re-regulating our nervous system so that we can be the recipient of our own loving kindness, as well as receiving the gifts of the universe, that love around us. That's what I love to do. It's the work that I've done myself and that I share with other people. So also, if that speaks to you, I'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in exploring this work more deeply, you can check out my 6-month program or book a free call. There's a link in the comments below or in the description. So we have worthiness issues. We have a negativity bias. And then, the third point, and this is perhaps, well, of course it's tied to the others, but it's also a huge, huge thing, especially in this day and age where we have social media, is our need to compare ourselves to others. So you're unique. You need to be unique. Your gifts and the beautiful energy and expression that you bring to the world, whether it's within a family setting, whether it's through your occupation and vocation, whether it's in volunteering and support. So the energy that you bring to what you do in the world is a gift. And so when we compare ourselves to others and expect ourselves to conform to another's example of, their happiness or their success or whatever, we immediately feel inadequate. We immediately feel less than, especially because we see our deepest, darkest insecurities. But what we're comparing that to is the confident facade that everybody else is putting up on social media, the confident facade that people want the world to see. So we're comparing our darkest darkness to other people's brightest projection. And that's so not realistic. And it really does detract from our spirit and our sense of value when we have that lack of perspective, or that that tendency to compare ourselves. And it's very difficult not to do. I get that. So, I'm human too. So these are all things which I experience as well. But the thing is that I don't want you to lose touch with your own innate value and worthiness to be on the receiving end of your own loving kindness and your own grace, because it looks different, because you look different, or you're feeling different to what you're seeing online or out in the world. Or maybe you haven't gone as far as somebody else has in their journey, because we're all on this journey together. So it's the comparison. And, it's this tendency, and another sort of food for thought is that we tend to, in this day and age, the way we're kind of brought into this distorted reality, so far away from our natural truth and our natural state of being and light and connection. We're taught to disconnect. We have this almost inbuilt impression that we're flawed or not enough, or that we're inadequate and that we're failing. And that can tie into all three of these kind of points that I've made. But when we can notice these aspects, when we become self-aware, that's when we can choose to give ourselves that grace. When we can maybe notice ourselves or the mental self-talk and catch it and come back into our body and, put one hand over our heart and over our belly. And actually, I might get you to do that now. So I'm just going to invite you to now just receive, I want to send in this transmission, so much love. and so much peace from my heart to yours. So I invite you to just close your eyes. I'll only be like a couple of minutes. So just dropping into your body, close your eyes. Take a deep breath, reaching right down into the bottom of the belly. Pausing at the top. And with the exhale, just letting your awareness drop down into your heart space. Placing your left hand over your heart and your right hand over your belly. Just notice the seat beneath you. And notice the sensation of your hands on your torso, on your body. Noticing maybe the warmth of the connection there. That nurturing touch. And just taking another deep but gentle breath in. And resting as you exhale. And I invite you to bring to mind if there's any dominant negative chatter that's been coming up for you. And allowing yourself in this space to just take a step back and notice. Notice what the phrase is. Notice that it's a sound that or a phrase that's actually separate from you. This negative self-talk is not your truth. Noticing how it's just generated. It's a story that's been created and generated based on a sense of less than or not enough. And as you kind of notice yourself stepping back and letting go of this negative story or negative commentary, I invite you to take another deep breath in from the belly up to the top of your head and relax. And as you do this, just notice the space at your forehead, any small muscles there, and allow them to relax. And dropping back to your heart space, just receive these words. Maybe repeat in your mind after me. I am worthy. I am loved. I am a divine and unique wonder of the universe. I came here to express my uniqueness. I came here to know love. Take a deep breath in. I am loved. I am love. I am loving. And I am worthy of receiving my own loving kindness. Allow yourself to notice any sensations that might be moving through your body. Just letting them move through. And receive my words that I love you. You are worthy. You are a divine and unique being of light. Resting in the feeling now in your heart space as you receive those warm words. I am love. I am worthy. I am peace. I accept all aspects of myself. And I embody loving kindness. Take one more deep breath into the torso, expanding your chest and your shoulders. And now, as we finish this meditation, just bringing some movement back to your fingers and toes. Perhaps moving the body a little. And when you're ready, just open your eyes. So I would love to hear how you experienced that, if you're able to receive and connect with that feeling of love. Not the love that we find in judgment or attachment, but the kind of love that's warm and enveloping and expansive, the kind of love that we are all actually made from and born of. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. I truly love and appreciate you. And, just as a side note, people might go, how can you love me? You don't know me. But it's the state of being love and honoring that you are a part of me. We are all a part of this wonderful, magical, divine life together. And so if I can embody these qualities of being love, then I have nothing but love for you too. So please do take that with you into your life and into your day, and remember to just check back in with that, noticing how you speak to yourself or how you restrict yourself from receiving that love from yourself, self-love. If you do self-care practices, do you feel negative emotions around that? Do you blame or guilt or shame that you don't deserve to, receive that care? Thank you so much. And if you did enjoy this, I would love it if you are not already subscribed to the channel, please click subscribe. It's free to do that. If you click on the little alarm bell too, it'll let you know when I share more content. So blessings and love from my heart to yours. Be well.